What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel, and welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to go ahead and talk about Kyle Larson's redemption, getting back into sport, and completing that first step of getting redemption back into the sport. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. Last year, around this time, around Easter, as a matter of fact, Kyle Larson made arguably the biggest mistake of his NASCAR Cup Series career, driving for Chip Ganassi Racing at the time. The pandemic ended up hitting NASCAR in a big way, and we went into a break. Kyle Larson, during an iRacing event called the Monza Madness, he would say a racial slur. You know what that word is, but I'm not going to mention it here. And it was a really, really bad word. Kyle Larson would be suspended from NASCAR, would lose all of his sponsors, and he would have to go through the Road to Recovery program to get back into the sport. Kyle Larson's Road to Recovery, he took some time off of social media around this time and went to work inside of the communities and work with the African American community. He was at the George Floyd funeral, and he was at multiple funerals as well, and has been out there doing community service and working. And by the way, he did this off of social media as well. So his actions off the racetrack have been absolutely incredible to watch. And he still is doing things outside of the community. People are like, he hasn't really pulled any actions. Well, this week, I think he created a foundation, if I'm not mistaken. So Kyle Larson is doing a lot of great things outside. And every driver, many drivers, including Bubba Wallace, the only African-American driver in the NASCAR Cup Series field, forgave him pretty much right away. So Kyle Larson, when he made that mistake, it was an accident that should never be forgotten for what he did, but an accident that, in my absolute honest opinion, he should be forgiven for. And the actions that he's been doing have absolutely earned my respect back. I've been a Kyle Larson fan myself since 2012, and what he's done on and off the racetrack has been incredible. Ever since he went back to the World of Outlaws last year and what he's done in there in the dirt ranks, I knew that Kyle Larson had a lot of talent. His time at Chip Ganassi Racing, he got 6 victories. And by the way, that was in not very fast cars. You look at how much better he was in outperforming his teammates. And a lot of mistakes he's made, people are like, oh, Larson's not that great of a driver. Yeah, he was driving for Chip Ganassi Racing. Let's not forget that. Chip Ganassi Racing, while they're not a terrible team by any stretch of the imagination, they're not overall a fast organization. So that's why I think Kyle Larson was not doing very, very great. His time in the World of Outlaws and in the dirt ranks really showed, in my opinion, how great of a race car driver and why drivers like Jeff Gordon were hyping him up at the time. Kyle Larson, I think, won 60% of the races that he ran in the Aussie, like during his time in dirt. He won a lot of World of Outlaws races. He won a dirt late model event, 1 or 2 dirt late model events, and he won a lot of other off-road racing events as well. Not to mention, earlier this year in 2021, he was able to win the Chili Bowl Nationals, holding off drivers like Chris Rell, who he actually ended up flipping, wrecking out, but he held off those guys and put on pretty much a dominating clinic at the Chili Bowl last year. Now, it took a while for Kyle Larson to finally get reinstated back into sport, but around October, about a week before he would actually get signed to Hendrick Motorsports, he would get officially reinstated back. Well, not officially reinstated. It was announced his reinstation back into sport would be taking place on January 1st. And then a week later, it would be announced that he would be signing with Hendrick Motorsports. I think it was the day of the Texas race when that finished. Remember how long that Texas race took to complete? Kyle Larson's redemption right there. Well, not his redemption, but the beginning of his redemption to get back into his sport was beginning as he would sign with Hendrick Motorsports in a 5-car. He'd be working with the 48 team, which is Cliff Daniels, which this is, like I said, the old 48 team. He'd be working with Cliff Daniels. He'll also be working with the new spotter because it would be announced later that Earl Barber, who had Jimmy John sponsor, will be moving over to work with Jimmy Johnson in the IndyCar Series in the 48. Also, he's going to be working with Tony Kanaan this year, so he's going to be working with Jimmy Johnson. So, Kyle Larson ended up getting a spotter. He had issues finding a spotter because he would have to get Chris Montes, who's an old spotter for Ty Dillon. Then we know what happened to Chris Montes, being a known supporter, and then it'd be announced he'd be working with Tyler Mon. And the next big thing was, could Kyle Larson pick up some sponsors? And no surprise, a lot of this year, Kyle Larson, we knew, was going to be sponsored by companies like HendrickCars.com and Nations Guard. For the first 3 races of this year, Nations Guard was sponsored Kyle Larson at Daytona, the Daytona Road Course, and Homestead, and then HendrickCars.com was sponsoring for the next 3 races. The next big hurdle was to see if Kyle Larson was able to get some sponsors. And really, really good news for a lot of Kyle Larson fans was Kyle Larson actually was able to pick up sponsors. I'll admit, not big sponsorship like multi-races, more than a couple races, but Kyle Larson this year is going to at least have 4 races where he's not going to either have Nations Guard on the car or HendrickCars.com on the car, as Cincinnati Incorporated sponsored Kyle Larson for 2 races this year, and Freightliner is going to sponsor Kyle Larson for 2 races as well. As Cincinnati Incorporated has a contract with Hendrick Motorsports, and the fact that Alex Bowman moved over to the 48 car, that was really important right there. So one of the smaller barriers have been broken down because it's one thing that really needed to help Kyle Larson. And now we get into the fact of the speed he's had this year so far up to this point. Kyle Larson so far in 2021 has been really, really good. He got a top 10 in the Daytona 500. He was looking like he was going to have a shot to win a Daytona road course before he wrecked it and kind of choked it in going up into Speedway turn number 1 at the Daytona road course. He was actually trying to make a pass. I think it was on Kurt Busch or Brad Keselowski, and he got into the outside wall, really damaging his car. He would have finished 30th there. At Homestead, I thought he was going to be more of a contender than he was, but he got top 5 there. And then yesterday, he finally broke through and got that first win of 2021. And I think that we are going to see a lot of wins coming out of Kyle Larson this year. Kyle Larson, by the way, won his first race on a mile-and-a-half track. He had 9 runner-up finishes on the mile-and-a-half racetracks, and he got some really, really big redemption yesterday and got his first win of, I think, many this year. And it's also, like I said, the first win for Cliff Daniels as a crew chief. So that was huge for Cliff Daniels. It was really, really awesome to see Cliff Daniels finally get a win. And that's the first time that the 48 team has really, really, been really strong. I mean, you look at where Kyle Larson's been and look where Ross Chastain is even this year in his old car. Ross Chastain is not even in the top 20 in points right now. And Jimmy Johnson was struggling last year and for the last couple years with that team. And Kyle Larson goes to both those teams and he's contending for wins more than that. And Kyle Larson is already more competitive, in my opinion, than Jimmy Johnson, was. He was kind of competitive at the beginning of last year, but really kind of fell off as the year went on and didn't help the Jimmy Johnson, that Hendrick team kind of fell off in the middle of the year, which I think could happen. But you look at the Hendrick Motorsports organization as well up to this point. You look at William Byron, who scored a win, and you look at the Chevy upgrades as well. And if you put Kyle Larson in a fantastic car, and this is what I expected, you put Kyle Larson in a really fast car, I think he's going to take it. And the fact that Ford decided not to pick up Kyle Larson because of the situation that happened earlier this year, I thought they were complete idiots and complete fools because you guys had him in your grass. And if you put him in Hendrick Motorsports, the team that won the championship last year with Chase Elliott, that was going to be a very, very big, dangerous combination. And the first step to completing redemption and getting redemption back in the sport is finally complete, as yesterday he won Las Vegas. And I think that there are a lot of races this year in 2021 that Kyle Larson can win this year. And the fact that he won at Vegas, where, like I said, it's a mile-and-a-half track, and Kyle Larson's not ultimately the strongest on the mile-and-a-half racetracks. He's shown even he's got 9 top 5s, 9 top 2s there. He's been really good there, but he's never really been a factor guy that we thought could win a track like Las Vegas. He was able to do that. I think that should be really scary for the field, especially with how strong he's been at the beginning of this year. I think he's considerably been up there as one of the favorites. I know Keselowski and Denny Hamlin have been really good this year, but Kyle Larson's also overall been really strong as well up to this point in 2021. And I look at a lot of tracks where Kyle Larson is good. Phoenix is really good at. He could have contended for that win. He was contending for top 5s. I think the last few times he's been there, he got top 5s. So Kyle Larson and Led Laps, I think, both raced nonetheless. So Kyle Larson definitely will be a threat there as well. And Hendrick Car. And Hendrick Car last year won the race there. Just saying. He's really good at Atlanta. I know the end of Atlanta in 2019 wasn't great for Kyle Larson, but he was up there as well, contending for the lead there and led a lot of the middle portion of that race. I guess the car kind of fell back, but again, that was Chip Ganassi race equipment, and the cars were not very fast. I look at other races where he's good at. He's good at Michigan. He's won there 3 times in a row. He's a guy that I think could overall go to victory lane at Michigan. He's going to be a threat there, in my opinion, if the Hendrick cars are fast. I look at maybe potential super speedways. I know he wasn't the fastest at Daytona 500, but he was right there in the money. He was in the top 5 until he spun coming into turn number 3, so he's really good there. And Kyle Larson, the underrated driver on road course tracks. Watkins Glen, he's really, really good at. He's had a couple top 5s there and quite a few top 10s at Watkins Glen. I would watch Kyle Larson definitely on the road course as well. I know Sonoma hasn't overall been the greatest for Kyle Larson, but he's a guy that I think could win a lot of races this year. The first of many wins, in my opinion, this year. I think the drivers in the Cup Series field need to really be careful because Kyle Larson gets in good equipment, like I said, he's going to be a factor. And this is something that also was noted during the broadcast yesterday. Kyle Larson is the fastest driver as a new driver at Hendrick Motorsports to get a win there. 4 races. The next one was Terry Labonte, who got 7 wins. It took Jeff Gordon, I think, like 30-something or even potentially 40-something races to get his first win. It took Jimmy like 15 or 16 races to get his first win at Hendrick Motorsports, like a 12 or 13 for something like that. Chase Elliott took him almost 100 races to get a win. Alex Bowman took him like 60 races. William Byron, it took him a long time to get a win. Like I said, Alex Bowman, it took some of these guys a lot longer to win. And the fact that Kyle Larson has already done that in his 4th race with that team is really dangerous. And there's a lot of tracks. Bristol Dirt's another one I think about where he can honestly win. So I think Kyle Larson is going to be a threat at a lot of races this year. And I think we really need to keep your eye on Kyle Larson this year. As for the redemption story, man, Kyle Larson fans have had to go through a lot. It was his fault, don't get me wrong. But when he started doing what he's been doing and going to the community and trying to fix himself overall, I knew in myself I would go out there and give him a second chance. And I think everybody else should be able to give him a second chance. Again, we shouldn't forgive him, forget what he did, but we should forgive him for what he did and let's see what he can do. And the next big question is there going to be a major sponsor that is going to be willing to want to work with Kyle Larson and get him a lot of funding? Because that's going to be the next big hurdle, because that Band-Aid's been ripped off. So at some point, a sponsor is going to be wanting to step up, and the fact that Hendrick Cars is probably going to get a lot more funding going into them, and a lot of people are going to be willing to want to shop at HendrickCars.com. I think eventually that Band-Aid is going to have to be ripped off, and at some point, in some shape or form, Kyle Larson is going to need to have some more sponsorship come in. I know there's been potential that we could see some sponsors come in, and I think it's going to be a little bit before that happens because it's still some time before that happens. But at some point, I think we will see some sponsors come work with Kyle Larson, and I think that he should be forgiven, and we will see what happens. But yeah, Kyle Larson, man, the fact that he's back in victory lane, yesterday especially, was really exciting, and I think the redemption story has just begun, and I think Kyle Larson has officially arrived, and I think we're going to see a lot of great things out of Kyle Larson for next year and for years to come going forward in the NASCAR Cup Series. So, anyway, that is it for today's video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe to the channel, notifications so you be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and links in the description below for that. Support me on Patreon as well, links in the description below for that. And comment your thoughts on today's video. What do you think about the Kyle Larson redemption story up this point, and how many wins do you think that Kyle Larson is going to get in 2021? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you do like, so YouTube can recommend more of these great videos out to you guys. If you do that, I'd greatly appreciate it. Like I said, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure YouTube can recommend more of these great videos out to you guys. Anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care, everybody.